Gents, just a little bit of information about the video lessons that we'll be using throughout the year. I will use these quite extensively in our flipped lesson format, so I expect you to watch these videos before you come to class. They will be between 10 and 15 minutes long. I try to keep them within a reasonable time so that you don't lose interest. I do expect you on any lesson that isn't involving Inventor to take notes. You must take notes. You'll probably have a quiz on the material the next day. Definitely the material covered on the videos will be included in your unit exams. So this is independent learning that you must do. Additionally, you will be getting credit for watching each video. You get 5 points for watching the video, and then usually another 5 to 10 points based on the questions that you're going to answer associated with the video. If I notice that you have not watched the video and the information is important enough that you have to have watched it for the next day, I won't let you in. If you have not watched the video and you come in the next day to class and the material covered is pertinent, I will not let you participate in the activities that we were doing. You will have to sit down and watch the video and then come after school to complete any of the activities. So it is imperative that you watch the videos at home prior to coming to class. This does not mean try to squeeze it in the 5 minutes before class or watch it during lunch. You need to watch it at home and you need to take notes on it. Any of the Inventor-based lessons, they will be a follow-along, do-along with me on Inventor at home. And those, obviously, you don't need to take notes, but I do recommend that you take notes on how you accomplished specific tasks. All of my videos will be available on Edpuzzle and on my YouTube channel throughout the year, so if you need to refer back to them, please feel free to do so. If you have any questions, let me know. Gentlemen, welcome to the next installment of the engineering series. Today we're going to be talking about the engineering notebook, what it is, how we use it, and why it's important. So what is an engineering notebook? Well, as it says, it is a notebook in which the engineer is going to formally document in chronological order all of his work associated with the project. Now, chronological means in date order, so everything is going to be in order by date. It's going to include a description of the process, and essentially it will document it with such detail that anybody could pick up your engineering notebook and know what you did from start to finish and replicate the same process. So we are going to keep an engineering notebook because it is considered a legal document. The importance of that isn't so much for our class, but as you move out into the real world, documenting your work when you're working on a new invention is important because you're proving that you did this work and when you did this work. So one of the advantages here is, let's say that I develop a new widget on March the 19th in 1980. And then 3 years later, somebody else develops that same widget and they're trying to claim that it was their original idea. If I have my engineering notebook that's been properly documented, I can prove, no, I actually invented that item first. This goes into the legal patent issues, which are way beyond our class, but it is part of the reason why it's very, very important. Another reason why it's important is simply because we don't want to do the same work over and over. So if we have it well documented, we know what we tried. So when we're moving forward to try a new idea, we don't accidentally do the same thing over and over and get the same failed result. It also allows other people in our team, whether they're new to the team or they haven't been working on a particular part of a project, to view what has been done so they know where we are in the process. So who is going to keep an engineering notebook? Well, obviously you guys are students, any engineering students in both high school and college. This will help you develop some time management skills. It's going to improve your research and documentation, and it is a good way to present your work professionally. You keep a really good engineering notebook and you go to a job interview or an internship interview, most likely at your age, you can say, look, here's an example of some of the work and the documentation that I've done. Also, engineers themselves are going to keep their engineering notebook, again, for legality of documentation and for the continuity, so people know what's going on as team members change, people are hired, new people are brought into projects. They can review the engineering notebook to see where everyone is in the process. So what are some of the contents in our engineering notebook? Basically, the discovering of the problem. What is our problem? We're going to document what our problem is. We're going to research that problem to figure out what we need to do. Also in your notebook, you're going to have sketches that are going to be labeled and have some description, any type of brainstorming during the design process, calculations that need to be done, your daily thoughts, photographs, meeting notes, test procedures, results, technical drawings. All of these things are going to be kept in your engineering notebook. Pretty much anything and everything related to the project needs to be documented and placed into your engineering notebook. Now, what are the parts of the notebook? We're going to have 5 basic sections. There's going to be a title page, which is just going to be on the front of the engineering notebook. You can put that on your binder. There's going to be a table of contents, so you don't have to sit there and sift through to try to find out what happened when. You can just look at your table. Your entries, which will be in chronological order, any references, and then at the very end you can put business contact information in there if you have that. We won't have that, but that's where it could go. Some basics about the chronological page entries. They're going to be on quad ruled paper. Quad ruled means that there's going to be each little square is going to be 1/4 of an inch. That's the standard that we're going to be using in our class. Sometimes they're a little off. Assume that it's 1/4 of an inch. All of the pages are going to be numbered, they're going to be dated, and they're going to be signed by the designer. That would be you. In our class, we're not going to be using a bound engineering notebook, which is ideally what you want to do, but for the purposes of our class, we're going to be using Rocketbook pages with the engineering title block. So you'll see at the top, there's a space for the title, the date, the page number. Down at the bottom, there's going to be a place for your signature, the date that it was signed, and the page number if it continues on to another page. And then all of the Rocketbook stuff itself. I expect that all of these pages are going to be kept in your notebook, or your binder, at all times. They should be properly numbered. There should be no missing pages. So if I grab your engineering notebook one day and I see that your pages go from 9 to 15, I'm going to ask you where those missing pages are, why they're not in there. And when I do engineering notebook checks, you will lose points for any pages that are missing. So make sure that your pages are numbered properly. Okay, a little bit more about the notebook. Ideally, you should do all work in pen. When it comes to doing drawings, I'm okay if your drawings are done in pencil because we are just learning. But in the real world, if you are working as an engineer, everything needs to be in pen so that it cannot be erased. Do not use any types of markers that are going to bleed through the paper and mess up the page on the back side. And again, make sure all of your pages are numbered in order. Some other details. If you run out of space, or other details, you are going to start writing at the top of the page. There should not be a big random open gap at the top of the page. And you're going to work left to right, top to bottom. You're not going to leave any big empty spaces at the bottom. If there is empty space at the bottom, that's okay. What you have to do is draw a diagonal line through it and you sign it. And what this is doing is you're saying, hey, I finished my work here on this page. There should be nothing else in this section. The reason why we do this is so that people can't go back later and add information into the engineering notebook so that it doesn't look like it's been altered. Now, guys, one other thing, you are going to go left to right, top to bottom. There should not be multiple columns. So if you're doing math problems in your notebook, which we will do, I do not want to see on the left a column of problems and then you say, oh, I can squeeze a few more problems in on the right. No, top to bottom, right? Do not make columns. Your engineering notebook needs to be neat and legible and easy to follow. Next thing, if you make a mistake and in pen, and you will, and that's okay, we all make mistakes, do not scribble it out. Do not try to erase it. You put a single line through the mistake, you initial and date it, and you write the correction. Or you don't have to date it, but you do have to initial it. So you see here, he spelt borax wrong, so he crossed out borax and wrote borax right above it and initialed that he had made that change. The reason why we don't want to scratch things out is because, again, this is a legal document, and if you scratch things out and make changes, that's going to add questions like, why was that changed? Did they realize that they made a spelling error and they were trying to fix it? Or did they realize that their entire process is wrong and they're scratching out their error and trying to make it look like they didn't make that error? So just single line, write the correction, and initial it. And this is how I expect all corrections to be done in your engineering notebook from this day forward. If you are adding in little diagrams or you're making multiple entries across several days, date them. Right? This is a idea for a wheel in subassembly. It looks like it started on the 13th and it ended on the 15th, so he just put in dated entries. That is fine. Just date your entry. If you need to add things into your engineering notebook, so I've printed out a picture for you, or you have a piece of paper that you need to attach into your notebook, that's fine, but they have to be permanently attached. So they're either going to be glued or taped in. We have glue and tape in the engineering room at all times. So you're going to glue and tape that into your notebook, and then you are going to sign across the edge of where you added that document or that piece of information in. So you're going to sign partially on the engineering notebook page, then across the corner or edge of the thing that you've attached in back into your engineering notebook page. This way, if that item is removed, people will be able to say, oh, look, there was something here. There's part of a signature here. Or if it's been added in, you can prove that you were the one that added it in, and that's why there's a signature there. So remember, the signature needs to go on the engineering notebook, onto the thing that's pasted in, back onto the engineering notebook. So if it's removed, it can be easily noticed. Next up is signing your page. At the end of each page, you are going to sign off that you are the one that did the work, and you're going to date it. And this will be right before you start a new page. In engineering notebooks in the engineering field, usually you'll have a witness also sign and date it, but for the purposes of our class, we're not going to worry with that. It just takes too long. Then you also need to make sure that you keep your engineering notebook in a safe location. This will be your backpack or your locker, but it does need to come to class every day. So make sure that you're bringing it with you all the time. Sketches, you want to label them. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but you need to tell me what it is I'm looking at. I understand not all of you are going to be fantastic artists. I'm not, so I don't expect it from you. But if you draw a basic sketch and you label it, it will help the person looking at it understand it much, much better. So make sure that you label your sketch and give a description. What is going on? If you've got moving parts, describe. Use some directional arrows. We'll practice this, but just label, label, label. It helps make your engineering notebook much more useful. Some best practices continued here. You want to label your calculations just like your pictures, so we know what these calculations mean. You can throw up some numbers there, and if I don't know what you're calculating, it's not going to be helpful for me. So make sure that you're labeling your figures and you're labeling your calculations and that everything is neat and legible. All right, last up, guys, I've said this several times. You need to be neat, you need to be accurate, you need to be legible, and you need to be thorough. If I can't read your handwriting, I can't grade it, and I won't even try. If your notebook is a hot mess and there's things just kind of thrown all around and I can't follow the order of your notebook, that's not very helpful for me. We will practice this together. I will show you what I'm expecting in class. I will critique your engineering notebook the first couple of times that we do a page to give you some pointers on how to improve your overall quality. But just remember, be neat, be accurate, be legible, date and page number, keep everything chronological order, and keep it all in a 3-ring binder. If you have any questions, guys, just let me know.